to another additional 101 Sports and Cards. Always I'm Nathan Wayne with me, Jerry Trash.
What's up?
We're starting the NFL. Justin Herbert returned to practice for the Chargers. He's apparently looked perfectly fine. So this is good for LA, because without Herbert, they are really nothing, because Easton Stick is not the best backup quarterback.
Hey, now.
The Falcons had a great week last week. They signed Justin Simmons, former All-Pro corner from the Broncos. Don't know why he was still a free agent. And then they traded for Matthew Judon from the Patriots. I believe they only gave up a third-round pick, which is a massive steal for Atlanta. So everybody was saying how, they didn't draft a guy who can pressure the quarterback. Well, they just got a guy who can. So, Jahmyr Gibbs is set to be ready for the season opener, despite his injury. Some starters have been named. The Commanders named Jaden Daniels the starting quarterback. I believe everybody knew this was going to happen. Now, the Raiders named Gardner Minshew their starting quarterback instead of Aiden O'Connell. Most people knew this was going to happen, especially with how much they paid him, which he does not deserve. Brandon Aubrey, so going back week 2 of the preseason, the biggest thing that happened, there were 2 big things. Brandon Aubrey made a 66-yard field goal. This may be what ends up helping the Cowboys win games, because he's going to have to make long field goals because their offense is horrific, especially if they don't get a deal done with CeeDee Lamb. That would tie Justin Tucker's record for the longest ever in NFL history. The other big thing that happened, Bo Nix went 8 for 9 for 80 yards and a touchdown against the Packers. Backup defense, no starters played for Green Bay. But with that performance and his performance in the first game, Bo Nix has officially been named the starter of the Denver Broncos, meaning he will be the first Broncos rookie quarterback to start since John Elway. So, good for Bo. Let's just hope that he has a good year, or I'm going to go back to calling him Bo Picks. The final week of me grading teams off-season is the Chargers and the Broncos. We start off with the Chargers. They added Gus Edwards. That was about all that they added. They lost. They also added J.K. Dobbins. Does that really matter, though, because he can't stay healthy? They lost Austin Eckler, Kenneth Murray, Gerald Everett, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams. So one of their best defenders in Kenneth Murray. And 4 weapons in Eckler, Everett, Allen, and Williams. They re-signed literally nobody. They drafted Joe Alt, 5th overall. Great pick. He's one of the best. He was probably the best offensive lineman in the draft. They also drafted Ladd McConkey and Junior Colson, so I gave them a C- just because they lost a lot more than what they added. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
For the Broncos, they added Zach Wilson. That's not a huge piece to add. They lost Justin Simmons, Russell Wilson, and Jerry Jeudy. They re-signed literally nobody that's worth noting. They drafted Bo Nix, Jonah Ellis, and Troy Franklin. I gave the Broncos a D, just because they did absolutely nothing that made their team better besides draft Bo Nix, which they need the QB. They've needed the QB every season since, Peyton Manning was there. I'm not going to say Bo Nix is going to be the best, because he's going to have lofty expectations his first year. And with this Broncos offense, they're going to be terrible. The Broncos may not win more than 3 games this season, especially in the absolutely loaded AFC, and of course being in the AFC West, where they have to deal with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, I gave them a D. Next week, since this is the last preseason week, next week there is no games. It's just a bye week for teams, so we will be giving our NFL predictions, so be ready for that.
Maybe.
You will be. Moving on to the NBA, the 76ers signed Guerschon Yabusele. Of course, he was one of probably France's second best player behind Victor, so he finally gets his second chance in the NBA. That's about all that has happened in the NBA this week. There is, if you want to say there's news today, Steph Curry took out that he's a Warriors point guard from his X, formerly known as Twitter, his bio, and instead put gold medalist. Everybody's taking that way out of proportion. He's going to be a Warrior. The Warriors are never going to trade him. I don't get what people... Also, if there's a team that would give up as much as the Warriors would want, because you would have to give up every young player you have, plus all of your future picks to get him. I mean, he's one of the best point guards of all time. He's one of the best players of all time. There's no way anybody can go out and get him. And there's no way the Warriors are going to trade him. So just shut up about him changing his bio. Who cares? If I was an Olympic gold medalist, I'd change my bio to that too. So I'm going to continue grading off-seasons for the NBA. Going to be the 76ers, Heat, and Bulls this week. 76ers, they added, of course, Yabusele. They also added Paul George, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, and Caleb Martin. They lost Nick Batum, Tobias Harris, and Buddy Hield. And they drafted Jaron McCain. I gave the 76ers an A. They're going to be much better than what they were last year, as long as, even if Embiid gets hurt and doesn't play a lot, they're still going to be better because now they have Maxey and Paul George, where last year whenever Embiid was out, they fell to the 7th seed because it was just Maxey, because Tobias Harris ain't that guy. So adding Paul George, you also had Andre Drummond, who is a much better backup center than what Paul Reed was last year. Paul Reed ended up getting cut. So you also had Eric Gordon, who's a great shooter, and Caleb Martin, who is an underrated player, and definitely a big loss for them. The next team we're going to talk about, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat added Alec Burks. They lost Caleb Martin and DeLon Wright. They drafted Khalil Ware. I gave the Heat a C-. The Heat did nothing that impressed me. Khalil Ware is going to be solid. They need a backup big guy. He could start if they want to put Bam at power forward. But they are sticking with their regular guys of Bam and Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler doesn't show up in the regular season. I believe Bam's a very overrated player. Now, he showed out in Paris. If he can continue to play like that, be able to knock down threes, he is a great defender. But it's just going to be him. They need Tyler Hero to step it up a lot to get back to when he won Sixth Man of the Year in that era of his career, because he has not been that good since becoming a starter. And other than that, they have Terry Rozier, who you really didn't hear about him after he got traded from the Hornets to the Heat last season. The Heat, the top of the East got so much better, and the Heat got worse. So C-. Next is the Bulls. They added Josh Giddey, Jalen Smith, and Chris Duarte. They lost DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and Andre Drummond. Of course, they drafted Modest Buzelis, who you believe is going to be one of the biggest steals of the draft. I also believe so as well. I give the Bulls a B. I mean, adding Giddey is okay. Adding Jalen Smith, he'll probably be the starting center. Duarte has been really up and down since his first year in the league. Losing DeRozan, they got enough back in a sign and trade. I still wish they would have traded him last year at the deadline if they were going to do it. Caruso, you get rid of him. To just get Giddey was disappointing. They could really thought they should have got a pick, and then losing Drummond, I mean, isn't that big of a deal. The Bulls are not going to be a competitive team for a while. They're also waiting for Lonzo to come back. So basically another added could be Alonzo Ball, because the dude hasn't played in 2 years. So,
yeah.
A B. I give him a B just because they had a solid offseason. Getting Buzelis is big. And now, actually, if they're able to trade Levine, this would go even higher, because nobody wants Levine because he's overpaid. He's an overrated player. He's not a leader. He can't do much. He's a very inefficient shooter. So for everybody who thinks that he's a great shooter, he's not. If they can somehow get rid of him during the season, this would be even better for the Bulls to play their young guys, actually develop this team. Next week will be the Hawks, Nets, and Raptors. Yeah, it should be 2 weeks left for the Eastern Conference. And on to baseball, the Tigers called up both Jace Young and Trey Sweeney. Of course, Young came through on Sunday Night Baseball in the Little League Classic, in which he sent the game to extra innings against the Yankees, in which they ended up winning. The Braves signed Gio Urshela after Austin Riley got hurt. He is out for 6 to 8 months, which is a huge blow for the Braves. But something that nobody is talking about for the Braves is how Marcell Ozuna could win the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
But yet if he does, he probably still won't win MVP. If he wins the Triple Crown, he should win MVP.
Yeah. If anybody wins Triple Crown in the league.
He is, I believe he's second to Ohtani in average. He's first in home. No, he's first in average. He's second in home runs in the NL, behind Ohtani, and then he's first in RBIs. On a team that is... Yeah. They've been banged up all year. If he is able to hit for the Triple Crown, plus the Braves make the playoffs in a year that they shouldn't because it's literally just him and Chris Sale leading this team because, Austin Riley gets hurt as soon as he was starting to actually play, like his former almost MVP self. Yeah. Matt Olson has been terrible this season, and a year after hitting however many bombs he did last year, he has been horrible this season. And then after that, you really can't even name another player on the team because everybody else is hurt. So, the Yankees placed Luis Gil on the IL today with a back strain. This huge blow to their starting lineup that has not been the best. Garrett Cole has been playing better, but Luis Gil was their number 2 starter. Now it will be Nestor Cortez and Marcus Stroman who will have to step up their game because they have not had the best seasons. Verlander returned for the Astros today against the Blue Jays. He took the loss, but did say that he was happy with his return. The Orioles placed Zach Eflin on the IL with a shoulder injury. It's a big blow to the Orioles. Another rotation that has been beat up a lot of the year. The Cardinals cut Brandon Crawford. They sent Nolan Gorman down to AAA. They cut Brandon Crawford in order to make space for Matt Carpenter to be reinstated from the IL. So, yeah. Standings. Right now, the Yankees and Orioles are tied in the AL East. The Red Sox are 6 games back. The Yankees have lost 3 straight. The Orioles only have 4 wins in their last 10 games. Both these teams are going to make the playoffs, so this is going to be a wild race. To the end in the AL East, neither team has led by more than a game in over 3 weeks. It's going to be fun down the stretch watching 2 of the best teams in baseball duke it out. The Guardians lead the Twins and the Royals by 3.5 games in the AL Central. Of course, the Guardians are the best team in baseball at 73 and 52. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. The Twins, on the other hand, they've lost 3 straight. Also, if you want to discuss it, the White Sox have officially been eliminated from the postseason. So this is the earliest in a season ever, or in the modern era of baseball. Which dates back to like the 1920s. It was the earliest in a season that anybody has been eliminated from the playoffs. So congratulations to the White Sox for making even more history. 3 more losses, and they will be at 100 losses on the year, which is just unbelievable. Also, for the White Sox, just shut down Garrett Crochet. You're throwing him out there every 5 days to start, and you only keep him in for 2 or 3 innings. He starts tonight. It's interesting to see how long he actually goes. He's basically a reliever. Yeah. They've just turned him into, instead of being a 1-inning reliever, they've turned him into a long reliever. Just shut him down. Because guess what? You're going to be able to trade him in the offseason. Hopefully, you will trade him in the offseason, because hopefully you just trade the whole team, get Luis Robert out of there as well, although I don't know who actually wants him. He's not even batting 200 this season. He's been terrible, but I feel bad for the Chicago White Sox, because when you watch their games, you just watch highlights of their games, the players on that team, half the players in that infield do not deserve to be in single A, let alone the MLB. They can't make plays. They have to lead the league in errors. They commit, it seems like 20 errors a night. It's bad. In the AL West, the Astros, who were back 10 games of the Mariners in June, in the middle of June, now have a 4.5 game lead over the Mariners. The Astros have been one of the hottest teams in baseball. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. On the other side, Seattle is 3-7 in their last 10 games. Their pitching has been great. Seattle's hitting, though, is the second worst in baseball, trailed by only the Chicago White Sox, which is
except for one guy.
No, he's a part of that. The Rangers, good luck on making the playoffs, because you're 10 games out. Only 4 games ahead of the A's and the Angels for last in the division. It's very sad. For the NL, the Phillies lead the Braves by 6 games, the Mets by 8 games. The Phillies have struggled in the second half. A lot of their star players have also struggled, and Harper, Schwarber, Alec Boehm not had the best second half. Of course, Castellanos hasn't had a good deal. Phillies are 4-6 in their last 10. The Braves are 7-3 in their last 10, including winning 3 straight. So, yeah. In the NL Central, the Brewers, they basically won the division already. They have an 11.5 game lead over the Cubs, 12 game lead over the Cardinals, and a 12.5 game lead over the Reds. The Pirates are basically done. They're back to being the Pirates. Yeah. The Brewers have won 6 straight, 7 of their last 10. The Cubs have won 6 of their last 10. The Cardinals are 2-8 in their last 10 games. And in the NL West, what seemed like it was going to be a very boring division has turned into one of the best division races besides the NL East, or the AL East. The Dodgers lead the Padres by 3 games, and the Diamondbacks by 4 games. Every single team has won at least 2 straight games, including the Dodgers, who've won 3 straight, and all of them are 7-3 in their last 10 games. Some very interesting division races as we head to the last month and a half of baseball. So, yeah, next week we'll give stats updates. So we're going to go off and on every week. Moving on to college football. Week 0 is this week. The only ranked team that will be playing is number 10 Florida State. Will be playing against Georgia Tech. I believe they're in Ireland, just like last year with Notre Dame. That will be on Saturday. There are some other unranked games. College football is officially back. And I am going to give my predictions since you decided not to actually make a bracket. I decided to make a bracket. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done because it's very confusing before you actually see the playoff actually pan out. So I'm going to go through everything. The ACC, I have Clemson beating Miami in the ACC. In the Big Ten, I have Oregon beating out Ohio State. In the SEC, I have Georgia beating out Mizzou. Yes, Mizzou. Remember, I said that name later on. The Big 12, I have Utah beating out Oklahoma State. Them are the 4 big conferences. My other conference winner that I have making it is Liberty. I believe Liberty sneaks in. So my 1 seed is Oregon. They're going to win the Big Ten championship. They're going to be the best team. If you can get through the Big Ten this season, you deserve to be the number 1 team in the country because the Big Ten adding Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, the Big Ten has officially taken over. The SEC is probably the best division or best conference in college football, although all you old heads will still say it's the SEC because of, the history of Alabama. Well, guess what? Alabama's not even going to make the playoff because they're going to struggle their first year without Nick Saban. Now, I know they still have whatever their quarterback's name is.
Milroe.
Yeah, Jay Milroe. But I don't see them being a contender in the SEC because there's 3 better teams than them in Georgia, Mizzou, and Texas. The 2 seed, I have Georgia. They're probably going to easily win their way to the SEC championship. They were one of the best teams last year. Remember, they didn't make the playoffs after losing 1 game. Which also cost them the SEC championship, even a spot in the SEC championship. I have Utah as a 3 seed as a Big 12 champion, and the 4 seed is Clemson as the ACC champion. Now, a lot of people out there are saying Florida State's going to win the ACC. Florida State's going to end their season unranked. I tell you that right now. They lost a lot of players to the NFL. They lost Jordan Travis to the NFL, and they replaced him with DJ Uiagalelei. Who was a great recruit for Clemson, but he's bounced around. I believe this is his 4th different college in his 5 years in college. He hasn't proven anything. He's not a good quarterback. He's not going to be able to lead Florida State to anything. Both Clemson and Miami are better. Number 5, I have Ohio State, 6, Mizzou, 7, Ole Miss, 8, Oklahoma State, basically because of their running back, Ollie Gordon, one of the best running backs in the country, if not the best. Number 9, I have Miami. 10, Penn State. I cannot leave Penn State out. 11, Texas. And 12, Liberty. So in the first round, so remember, 1 through 4 gets byes. And then the other non-conference or the other conference winner as the highest ranked makes it in. It's very confusing. But they will not be the automatic 5 seed, so I have Liberty as the last conference winner in, and they are the 12 seed. So it doesn't go off of the top 5, it goes off the 4 conference winners, and then the last one fits in basically wherever they're going to be actually ranked, or possibly unranked, because you can't have an unranked team that wins a conference, which baffles me that we could actually see an unranked team in the college football playoff. But first round is, I have number 8 Oklahoma State going up against number 9 Miami. I have Oklahoma State winning and moving on to play Oregon. Number 5 Ohio State versus number 12 Liberty. I'm going upset. Liberty beats Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State is as good as everybody thinks. Liberty is going to be a very underrated team. The only bad thing is they're not going to be ranked that high. They did get some preseason hype, some preseason votes to be in the top 25. They don't play a very good schedule because they're not in one of the big conferences. I have number 6 Mizzou beating number 11 Penn State, and number 7 Ole Miss beating number 10 Texas. So in the second round, in the Rose Bowl, yes, the Rose Bowl will hold the number 1 team in the second round. So I have Oklahoma State and Oregon. Oregon easily winning. I have Liberty upsetting number 4 Clemson. Once again, I don't think Clemson's that good. Liberty, if they're led by, I don't remember who their quarterback is, but he's extremely good. And remember, Liberty finished undefeated last season. And they didn't lose a lot to the NFL. Because not a lot of guys are going to go from Liberty and get drafted, so I just thought go back and get the NIL money. I have Mizzou beating number 3 Utah, and then I have Georgia losing to number 7 Ole Miss, because I am on that Ole Miss bandwagon. So, in the Final Four, I have the 1 seed, the 12 seed, the 6, and the 7. It's very different from the usual Final Four, where it's 1, 2, 3. But this is what's going to happen in this playoff format, because anything can happen. So I have Oregon beating Liberty to make it to the championship game. Then I have Mizzou taking down Ole Miss to make it to the championship game. Then I have number 1 Oregon, led by Dylan Gabriel, beating Mizzou in the college football championship game. I believe Oregon they were great last year. They had Dylan Gabriel to replace Bo Nix. That's going to make them even better. Go to the Big Ten. As long as they're able to get through their Big Ten schedule, there's nobody they can't. Who would your champion be if you had to choose?
No idea. I don't pay attention to college football.
Just give me a school that you know is good. So basically somebody from the school.
Let me see your list.
Unless you want to say Alabama.
No, I hate Alabama. Suck ass. Who's Ole Miss QB? He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Jackson Daunt?
Yeah. He is really good.
I liked Oregon. I don't really want to agree with you, but I think Oregon does get it done. Because I'm an Oregon fan.
I've been an Oregon fan since Mariota was there. They've always been my second favorite team, just because I love their jerseys. I love the duck, Puddles the duck.
Yeah,
their mascot. Although on Pat McAfee's show, he said that he's not Puddles, or he inferred he can't talk. He inferred that his name is actually not Puddles. It's just the Oregon duck, but everybody calls him Puddles the duck. So, that's cool. And another sport. I don't know why we just went on, or I went off on Puddles the Duck. But one of the best mascots. Second best mascot in college. Behind Bucky Badger. And on other sports, Hideki Matsuyama won the FedEx St. Jude Championship. This saw a huge decline in viewership. Last year it was on CBS. This year it was on NBC. I believe it saw almost 1 million less viewers. That is a big problem for the PGA. Plus, most people would rather watch it on CBS. I hate NBC's golf team. I hate their coverage. I would much rather watch it on CBS. Jordan Spieth got eliminated. He will not be in the final 50. Remember, the top 50 move on to the BMW Championship this weekend. Then they will cut it down to, I believe, 35. I think it's 35. Or 35. I think it's 35. It's definitely 35. But Spieth was eliminated. He is undergoing wrist surgery, so he will be out for a while. Hopefully this actually helps Jordan Spieth return to his old self. Of course, like I said, the BMW Championship is this weekend. We're not going to give picks this week because anything can happen. We will give picks next week with the final PGA Tour event of the season. And then guess what? The next week,
championship.
It starts. The new season starts. And the next week is the championship. The week after that, the new season starts.
So this week's championship.
No.
Next week is.
Yes. This week is the second to last. Top 35 make it to East Lake. The championship. Tyler Reddick won at Michigan on a Monday. It was a pretty good race. I would say I watched most of it. Corey LaJoie flipped. One of the fastest flips I've ever seen. He was okay. But it was the second time he's flipped this season. Other than that, it was an okay race. Kyle Larson once again wrecked after dominating. Congrats to Tyler Reddick. Daytona is this weekend, so
it's only fitting that a fellow Don't Racer wins. It's only fellow. It's only the best.
He also honored Scott Bloomquist after his win. Yeah. Daytona is this weekend. There's 2 weeks left before the playoffs start. So Austin Dillon, their appeal went through today. NASCAR once again said no, declined the appeal, doesn't count. They're now reappealing it to a higher form instead of the Motorsports Committee to the final appeal officer, who's also going to tell them no. Richard, just face it, you're not going to be in the playoffs. Just face it. Neither one of your cars are going to be in it, because Kyle Busch is not going to win over these next 2 weeks anyway. He absolutely sucks at Daytona, because he always wrecks. And then Darlington, you're not going to have a good enough car to win. So just face it.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
For Kyle.
Kyle did have a chance to win last week. Had a great strategy. Took 2 tires at the end of the race. It did not work. So he did bring it home top 5, I believe. So Daytona's this weekend. Anything can happen, including possibly another flip. We saw 2 flips this weekend at Michigan. Flips always happen at Daytona. Also, who knows when this Daytona race actually happens, because it is supposed there is a 60% or more chance of rain from Monday until Sunday. So who knows when this race will actually happen. I believe there's even chances of rain all of next week. So I'm going to be dodging Mother Nature again in a huge race before the playoffs, because Daytona, anybody can win it. It's not like most tracks. Anybody can win it. And could we see a person outside the top 16, which right now, 16th in points is Bubba Wallace. 1 point out is Ross Chastain. Could we see somebody else win and knock out Bubba this week?
I think Chris Buescher wins.
Chris Buescher. I'm going to go with a more well-known guy for, not since Chris Buescher isn't known for plate tracks, although they're not plate tracks anymore because they don't use restrictor plates. But I'll always call it that. I'm going to go with a different plate racer. I'm going to go with former Daytona 500 winner, and who I pick on most road courses. I'm going to go with Michael McDowell. Gets into the playoffs in his final season with Front Row Motorsports.
A little teammate match up.
They're not teammates. They're Ford teammates. Yeah. Actually, they are basically teammates. Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing actually helps Front Row. So 2 weeks before the playoffs start, we will give our predictions the first week of the playoffs, like we always do. And also,
nobody said who was going to win the championship at the very beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I said Byron.
And I said Bell.
Yeah.
But we're going to go by round. Give our predictions.
But who won last year?
You did. I did win. Congratulations. I don't even remember who won the championship last year.
Gone.
Did he?
No, Blaney won last year.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Who did I pick last year?
Probably Kyle Larson. I would pick Kyle, but the dude has the worst luck possible. Joseph Newgarden won at Gateway. It was an entertaining first part of the race, and then they got into where it was just a fuel mileage race, and ended up being 5 cars on the lead lap. Will Power wrecked, thanks to Joseph Newgarden absolutely screwing everybody on the restart. Alexander Rossi almost just ran completely over Will Power. I've never seen a IndyCar do a wheelie, but it happened. I thought the dude was going to just do a backflip or something. Will Power is not very happy because Will Power is in the points race. Joseph Newgarden is not. Joseph Newgarden will not be winning another championship this season. Alex Palou leaves Gateway as the points leader still. I believe there's 3 races left until the championship, which this year will be at Nashville Super Speedway instead of Nashville, the little streets of Nashville that they say. Portland is this weekend for IndyCar. Who wins?
Will Power.
Damn you. That's who I was going to pick. I'm not going to agree with you. I'm going to go with another guy who's in the championship. He had a rough race last week at Gateway after his fuel strategy did not pan out the way that he hoped. I'm going to go with a guy who needs to win because he's still in the points race. I'm going to go with Scott Dixon. F1 is back this week with the Dutch Grand Prix. Who wins?
Max Verstappen.
So you're going to say after a month off that Red Bull has figured it out?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Lando. I think McLaren has figured it out even more. The U.S. Open for tennis started officially yesterday?
2 days.
2 days. I just saw that it was on today, so I know they didn't start it on a Wednesday. So yeah, that's about everything in sports. So thank you guys for listening. Next week we'll give NFL predictions, so look forward to that. Other than that, we'll also give some predictions for college football. Once again, week 1 is next week. Can't wait. There's a ton of good matchups. Not as good as I believe week 4. Week 4 is the best week in college football. You will know as soon as either go and look at week 4. If you're busy that Saturday,
Call.
Yeah, just don't do anything. Just sit on your couch, sit on your ass, and watch college football because it's one of the best days in college football history. There's a ton of ranked matchups. That's what I'll be doing. I'll do that every Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah. So NFL predictions, college football week 1 preview, and also golf predictions for the championship. Since we already gave our predictions, but yeah. You never know what can happen. Maybe there's a guy that upsets everybody. This week. So thank you guys for listening. Come back here next week. Peace.